Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. Got you covered. Traditional leagues, dynasty leagues, PPR leagues, IDP league, even daily fantasy football league. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for another episode of the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Austin. I'm your host, back again, going live 7 p.m. Monday through Friday every single weekday. And we are brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. So thank you for putting that on, GSMC, putting this beautiful podcast on that I'm able to bring to y'all. Friday is my favorite episode. I've told y'all many times because it is my matchups episode. I go deep into the weeds and find the guys that I like the most for Sunday. Definitely spend the most time on this. Just literally spent all day prepping for the show. So super excited to bring it to you guys. If you guys want to drop a tip and support the show, you can do that right here at streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network. If you feel so inclined, that we always appreciate it. I also do a couple extra segments every single day on the Patreon, and the link is in the description if you want to check out our Patreon channel. Like I said, 2 extra segments of fantasy football coverage, my exclusive takes. Can't get it anywhere else besides the GSMC Patreon. So if you want to check that out, I would really appreciate that too. And I just thank y'all for watching, if you're watching at all. Let's get right into my matchups, guys. We're going to go wide receiver matchups, running back matchups, and then quarterback matchups. We're going to finish with some best bets that I like for Sunday. I think all of my best bets are for Sunday, none for Monday. So you don't have to, take the extra day to sweat it out if you're going to parlay all of them, which I know some of y'all do. So let's get right into it, guys. I'm loving Mr. Ja'Marr Chase. This week versus the Cardinals just seems like it makes sense. Obviously, guys, this was the dude who, right after Justin Jefferson gets drafted, everybody wanted to draft Ja'Marr Chase. That's what I did, at least. As soon as Justin Jefferson wasn't available, the next guy that I was looking for was this guy, Ja'Marr Chase, and he really hasn't lived up to that top 5 wide receiver fantasy hype that he did last year. He was definitely doing that last year, but Joe Burrow just been real bad this season so far. I do expect him to pick it up, just later into the season here. They have a really good matchup here this week. Ja'Marr Chase, Joe Burrow going up against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona, so definitely going to be interesting matchup. It's just really crazy how high Ja'Marr Chase how high he was drafted and how low his current stock is. And he's mad about it himself. He is very upset about the whole situation, and he came out into the media and was like, I'm always bleeping open. I'm open all the bleeping time. So he was kind of embarrassing his quarterback a little bit, like telling him that he needs to get the ball because he's obviously a playmaker. He's one of the most athletic people in the NFL. He's probably the most agile wide receiver that is in the NFL right now. He's very talented, and I know he just wants his team to win. So that will happen soon. I already know that. Usually after a talented wide receiver comes on the media and is like, I'm always open, or he throws a fit on the sideline. These guys are divas. A.J. Brown literally just did the same thing a couple weeks ago. He wasn't getting the targets he felt he deserved, and then he threw a fit on the sideline to Jalen Hurts and the coaches, and then since then he just had a 175-yard and 2-touchdown game. That's just kind of what happens for these elite wide receivers. They're able to just kind of cry, throw fits, and then get the ball. But at the end of the day, they're going to be making plays for their team. So it makes a lot of sense to get these guys the ball. Ja'Marr Chase, 15 targets in Week 3. Obviously, we're going into Week 5 now, but in Week 3, went 15 targets, 12 receptions for 141 yards. I'm definitely expecting a game more like this rather than his Week 4 performance where he went 7 receptions for 73 yards, only 14 fantasy points that game. I'm expecting like a 20-point fantasy day, a really good day for Ja'Marr Chase. against this Cardinals defense that is pretty bad. They're the 30th ranked coverage right now in the entire league. Burrow's off the injury report, so hopefully the calf is looking a little bit better, and had a full week of practice without any limited practice reports or anything like that. So I do trust Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow to get it done. Love the Bengals this week too. Let's go my next guy at wide receiver, and I got Chris Olave going up against the Patriots. Chris Olave put up a pretty impressive first 3 weeks in the league, and his fourth week was less than impressive for sure. Only 1 reception for 4 yards. Not very good. He's currently sitting at wide receiver 29 in fantasy football. And like I said, going up against the Patriots this week, facing a pretty beaten up secondary at the moment. Christian Gonzalez obviously going to be out for the foreseeable future, as well as Jonathan Jones, questionable with the ankle right now too. He's getting a crazy matchup on PFF, excellent, which is great. His first 3 weeks, he was targeted a lot, and I'm sure that he was upset about not being targeted nearly as much in week 4, and then only getting 1 catch also in week 4. But in weeks 1 through 3, 10 targets, 11 targets, and then 11 targets again in those first 3 weeks. Week 4 only had 6 targets and that 1 reception. But this is a very athletic dude out of Ohio State. Definitely a speedster, probably like a 4.3 speed type guy. 2 of his 4 games, he's already gone over 100 yards in those games. And it's not really hard to go over 100 yards when you're getting 11, 10 targets per game. It just makes a lot of sense that you would go over 100 in that situation. I was put off a little bit by this Derek Carr interview that I was watching earlier today, when a reporter kind of asked how important it is to get Chris Olave the ball, and he kind of deflected a little bit, acting like he was scared of Bill Belichick. He was like, Bill is just one of the best coaches to ever do it, and he probably is. He just really knows how to take away, what you want to do, and if he's gonna do that, we got to be okay with that. And it just seemed like he was completely content with letting Chris Olave getting taken out of this game even before the game even happens. It definitely put me off a little bit. I don't know. But I do like Chris Olave's matchup. Derek Carr might not like Chris Olave's matchup, though. So be aware of that. Just a weird answer about Bill Belichick when I heard that, and just wanted y'all to be aware. But I do like Chris Olave this week. Then we got Devontae Smith, skinny Batman. Obviously, swole Batman. A.J. Brown. They just got 2 Batmen who probably are the best wide receiver tandem in the entire league on that Eagle squad. They're going to go up against the Rams this week, and it's just an auto pick for either Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown in this situation, just because the Rams have a bottom 2 defense in the entire league. They're turning in terrible coverage grades most games. So I'm down to take either one of these guys, but personally I'm going to go with Devontae Smith this week. He's currently sitting at wide receiver 14 in fantasy football, and I would consider him to be one of the most solid wide receiver 2s that we have in fantasy at all. He's only busted 1 game this year out of 4. He has 17 points week 1, 23 points week 2, 6.8 points week 3, and that was his bust, obviously, and then 14 points in week 4. He's just a dude with a big catch radius. Obviously very skinny and has a small, small arms, small legs, all of that stuff. But he just has really long arms and catches everything that is around him. I think if this game is close at all, then he'll just have to be involved. And most likely after A.J. Brown popping off these last 2 games, they're going to try to keep the top on him and look to make the Eagles beat them in those short routes, and that's where Devontae Smith excels. So definitely like Devontae Smith in this matchup as well. When I come back, guys, we're going to talk running backs, my favorite running back matchups, and I got 3 for y'all. Yeah, 3 really good running back matchups, so make sure you come back so you can hear about them. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for my second segment talking about my running back matchups that I'm loving this week. And we're going to start with the generational talent himself, Bijan Robinson. Very, very good player, and I'm loving his matchup this week. Goodness gracious, I'm loving his matchup this week. Going up against the Texans. Texans currently rated on PFF as the worst run defense in the entire league. And this is one of the most talented young kids that I've ever seen run the ball in a very long time. In a very, very long time. Since, I guess, Saquon, that initial Saquon hype when he was at Penn State, putting up highlight performances. If you haven't watched his college tape, definitely recommend that college tape as well. But since Saquon, I really haven't seen a guy better than Bijan at all. Just from a shiftiness point of view and just stop start, all of that. I think if he played for the Eagles and had an actual good O-line to run behind, and he wasn't just having to make his own plays in most of these scenarios that he's getting put into, it would be over. It would be absolutely over. He's so twitchy. He's so good, in the backfield, and then also catching balls out of the backfield. He's super good at that. He records slot snaps. He probably could play slot receiver if he really wanted to. If I was a Madden adjuster, if I was the guy who was making the Madden rating in the game, I would probably make him a 97 overall right now. Weird take, but I would he's one of the best running backs in the league right now for sure. He's the running back 7 in fantasy football right now, and he only has 1 touchdown through the first 4 weeks. But his ability to catch the ball and all of that, I really think he's probably maybe only behind Christian McCaffrey, the best receiving running back at the moment. He's like a Justin Jefferson, but a running back, fantasy-wise, in my opinion. All the yards, all the time, and then all the catches, too, that he adds to his offense, which is really, really good. He's an all-purpose dude in every aspect of the word. 2 of 4 games, he's gone over 100 yards rushing already in his first 4 games in the NFL. Obviously going up against this Texans team. This Texans team has not been very good against the run in any way. It gave up 88 yards to Travis Etienne already this season, 71 yards to Najee Harris, who is, everybody was hating on him for being really slow and just not being a solid running back, taking steps back in his career. He still gave up 71 yards to him. And then 88 yards to Zach Moss, who is technically supposed to be a backup. I didn't even know Zach Moss was good. And then Zach Moss just started popping off, and he did pop off against this Texans team. I just love Bijan in this spot for sure. Think he goes over 100 probably in the first half like we saw DJ Moore do yesterday. Then we got to talk about Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, really good running back. Watching his film, he's got a lot of burst left. I don't know exactly how old he is. Obviously, he's a couple years into his career, but definitely a vet in the game. Knows how the NFL works, and has been fortunate enough the last couple of years to stay healthy. I know he started his career being a bit injury prone, but he's been able to avoid that for the last couple of years, which is great. What did I write down there? He hasn't really been able to show out as much or put up those top 5 running back fantasy days just because his offense and Joe Burrow just haven't been clicking in any way. He has been touching the ball though. He's been touching the ball a decent amount. 13 carries week 1, 13 carries week 2, 19 carries in week 3, and their only win of the season. Bengals currently 1-3. They beat the Rams in week 3, and he got 19 carries that game, and then 14 carries in his week 4 matchup where they lost again 27-3 to the Titans, I believe. But in this matchup against the Cardinals, I really do like all of their number ones. I like Jamar Chase. I like Joe Burrow. I like Joe Mixon. All to have a pretty good day, and I am predicting a win for the Bengals for sure. And if we talk about what other running backs have been doing to the Arizona Cardinals, Tony Pollard, 22 carries for 122 yards in his game. Obviously, the Cardinals were able to pull that game out, which is kind of scary for this one because I do think the Cowboys are probably better than the Bengals. But I think the Bengals are just really motivated right now to get that train going over there. And I know that they're in must-win mode, must-win scenario this Sunday. So I really do like them. I like Mixon too. McCaffrey against the Cardinals, 20 carries for 106 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. It just seems like they're liking to give it up to these running backs. Also a big game from Saquon, if you remember that one, when Daniel Jones led the comeback. I think Saquon had a couple touchdowns that game, was doing a lot receiving too. And then they also gave up a good game to Brian Robinson, 56 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown. So I really do like just running backs against the Arizona Cardinals defense. I think it makes sense to take those guys. If you have Joe Mixon, absolutely start him this week. I like him in DFS too if you're going to play it on Sunday. Putting him in there, think he could have a chance to, if they get up and actually somehow find success on the offensive side of the ball. I would just love if Joe Mixon was able to, get loose and pound the rock to end the game when they're trying to run out time. Love his quickness out of the hole. Like I said, watching his tape, a ton of burst left in his legs. He's a very strong guy. Wouldn't be surprised if he was squatting like 600-ish pounds. Hey, shout out Andrew Tate. See you in here. But yeah, Joe Burrow should get a pretty easy game here. Good draw with the defense, 30th in coverage, just makes a lot of sense. Think he'll get into a rhythm against this really bad defense who love to not stop the running back. So even if Joe Burrow is still struggling somehow after this full week of practice that he's had, he's not just like ready to go. I think he'll be able to lean on his other Joe in the backfield, Joe Mixon, to get it done. He's definitely a 15 to 20 touches type of guy, and he just has a really good matchup in this one. Bengals offense was previously in 2022 7th in points per game, and I expect them, they can't stay at 30th for the rest of the season. It just wouldn't make any sense. They're way too talented. They have 2 top 10 receiving talents in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, a guy who's probably a top 10 running back in Joe Mixon, and then the highest paid player in the game right now, making like $45 million a year in Joe Burrow. I just don't think that they can stay cold for much longer. I think Joe will lead the guys to victory here. Finally, we got Devon Achane here. And guys, Devon Achane has arrived on the spot. This man is a problem. He's young, he's fast, and he gets to play against the Giants in Week 5. That's the best part about it. This is a wonderful matchup for him. We've seen these teams tearing up the Giants, getting blown out. Giants kind of look like a college team. I really do think my Michigan boys over there in Ann Arbor could probably beat them on their best day. However, Achane ready to go. Kind of scary because he is going to be like sharing snaps with Raheem Mostert. Naturally, we know how that goes. They're both going to get some work, but he right now, Devon Achane, is the leader in fantasy points per touch. He averages like 2.22 fantasy points per touch, and he's just a flyer, guys. Like, he is a flyer. 4.3 type speed. He says that he's the fastest guy on this Miami Dolphins team. He says he's faster than Tyreek, faster than Waddle, faster than Mostert, and he's kind of showing that he needs to be taken very seriously. His running style is crazy. He's another guy that I think you should watch his college tape if you haven't. Obviously, he's a rookie this year. He was at Texas A&M. He was super good, really good out of the backfield, catching balls too, and I think that's like a really dangerous part of his game. He's getting like 3 or 4 catches out of the backfield as well. We're probably expecting somewhere around like 10-ish carries for Devon Achane, and then I would think like 8 to 10 for Raheem Mostert, and they'll probably both get a couple of receptions out of the backfield. But the thing I really do like about Devon Achane is that he's getting those red zone touches right after his 4 touchdown performance when they blew out the Denver Broncos by 50 in a 70-20 win. He came back in a game that they lost and still scored 2 touchdowns. He was getting those red zone carries. He's getting the looks in the red zone. So we definitely love to see that. I see him breaking loose for multiple chunk plays on Sunday versus the Giants. It's going to be bad. I think it's going to be an ugly, ugly game where, they're going to have to call the dogs off probably early, like into the third quarter. I remember against the Broncos after that, they were like, are you guys like trying to embarrass teams? They're like, nah, man, like, we're just running our playbook. I don't know what you want us to do. Tell them to play defense is what they should have said. But I really do believe that through these past 2 games that Devon Achane has really earned a spot in the lineup. I don't see how you don't play a guy that just dropped 51 fantasy points, 18 carries, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns maybe, and then 4 receptions, 30 yards, and 2 more touchdowns in a week, and then comes back for the 8 carries, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and then also added a couple of receptions to that. It just seems like it makes a lot of sense, man. It really does. Also, the Giants have just been giving it up on a weekly basis to all running backs. 70 rushing yards given up to Tony Pollard, 106 yards to James Conner, 85 yards to Christian McCaffrey, and then 79 yards to Kenneth Walker. They're just giving up to everybody. I was watching Brian Dable. Obviously, they were on primetime the other day against the 49ers, I think. The Giants were. And Dable just looked really sad. Or was it the 49ers? Who did they play? I don't know. Whoever they were playing, they were getting smacked, and Brian Dable was looking sad over on the sideline. And then we saw a report from Wink Martindale, who I think is their defensive coordinator, and he was like super scared, saying that he was waking up in the middle of the night, scared to play this offense. Mike McDaniel is just years ahead of these offensive coordinators in terms of his creativity and his just connection with the players. It just seems like they're locked in Miami, and I do expect Devon Achane to go off here on Sunday. Guys, when I come back, we're going to talk quarterbacks. I got some quarterback matchups that I really like, and then make sure you stay for my last segment because we're just going to talk about best bets for Sunday, and I know y'all want that, so yeah. What's good, guys? Here to talk about the quarterbacks this time. I think we were right. Nope, not the best bets. We got the quarterback matchups right now. And let me get the graphic up so you guys can see who I'm talking about. It's going to be a guy on the exact same team as Devon Achane. And naturally, I'm going with Tua here, going up against the New York Giants, who can't stop anybody from doing anything. Got 40-0'd by the Cowboys. They've lost a number of games. They were down 28-3 or something against the Arizona Cardinals, who they somehow ended up coming back on, and then they lost their next 2 games by, just disgusting ways. It's just bad over in New York for the Giants. Really, really bad, and that's why I like Tua going into this Week 5 matchup. And they got Miami in Miami. We're going to be playing in Miami. They got the home field advantage, which definitely does not play well for the Giants and for Daniel Jones' offense or their whole defense, which is not too talented. They got a couple guys like Kayvon Thibodeau, who I really like, but Ranked by PFF, they're a bottom 5 defense. They have bottom 5 coverage, so they're not turning in good grades as far as their defense goes in any way. I think Miami is just going to pretty much have their way with this opponent. Whether it be rushing or receiving, we don't really know. There hasn't been a day, though, that in 2023, Tua Tagovailoa has thrown for under 249 yards. So I think you can just pretty much guarantee that he's going to be airing this thing out, definitely going way over 200 yards in my opinion, against a really bad defense. He has the best weapons in the entire league, at least the fastest weapons, and now he's got Devon Achane too, literally 4 sub 4.3 guys that he's able to target in his receiving game, on top of the other couple guys that they have, like Braxton Berrios, who caught a touchdown last game. He looked pretty decent, definitely not too bad. Before last night, when Sam Howell went off for 388 yards, Tua was leading the league in passing yards with 1,306 passing yards through the 4 games. He's got a 71% completion percentage, which is one of the top in the league. Very, very good. And he's sitting with the most creative offensive coordinator we might have ever seen at this point. Their motion game and like how they get people off balance, all that stuff, how fast they are too, plays a massive factor. But like, he's just in a great situation. He's an accurate quarterback with weapons galore. And against these Giants, we've already seen Brock Purdy, who has pretty similar weapons. I could somehow compare the Miami offense to the 49ers offense just with like their elite weapons that they have. Brock Purdy got 310 yards against these Giants, and then even Joshua Dobbs threw for 228 yards against the Giants too. Obviously, they played against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys smacked them 40-0, but Dak Prescott only had like 143 yards, mainly because they were just doing it on the ground. It was just too easy for them, and they had defensive touchdowns as well, so that was kind of the contributing factor to that. This is more of an offensive-focused team, and somehow I could see the Giants maybe scoring a couple points because the Miami Dolphins defense is not amazing. But wait, let me get to the question. Remember how I was going to – yeah. I remember. Did you end up doing that trade? But, yeah, these guys get blown out constantly. I don't see them sticking around in this game in any way. Rest in peace to the New York Giants foundation, and I hope they can tank for Caleb really, really soon. Next guy we got GOAT Man, current GOAT, Pat Mahomes. He's so solid. He's amazing. There's not enough good things to say about Patrick Mahomes. He's so good. But I got another offer right after. What was your offer? I got to know. But guys, Patrick Mahomes, man's dangerous. Don't think he's going to struggle in any way in this Week 5 matchup. They're playing against the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings are just known to get torched. Also, how do I sub to you, bro? Like, channel. If you want to drop a tip, you can do it right there. But if you just want to drop a sub, I think you can just do that on Twitch. I don't know the ins and outs. I'm mainly on the YouTube. I just know that it streams everywhere. But I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, I always see you in here. For real. But against Minnesota, Patrick Mahomes was against Minnesota, Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert were going crazy. Herbert threw for 405 yards in that game, and Keenan Allen went for 215 yards himself. And now they got Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, probably the most dangerous fantasy stack to ever play in fantasy football, at least probably since Tom Brady, Randy Moss, if people were playing fantasy football back then. I know Andrew Tate was, for sure, most definitely. Or should we say Trav Swift? Is that his new name instead of Trav Kelsey? Anyways, he's going up against a Vikings defense. Vikings defense has a crazy blitz percentage. They send a lot of blitzes, and apparently against the blitz, Patrick Mahomes has the best passer rating against the blitz, which is a really good sign. I think he just is too smart for these defenses that think that they know what they're doing against him, trying to outsmart him. He's the best in the game. He's definitely the best mind in the game right now, in my opinion. I don't know any other quarterback thinking through the game better than Patrick Mahomes at the moment. I love him on Sunday. He looks really sharp. Even whenever they played the Bears, he was doing so good that he got sat down for the rest of the game, because obviously you don't want your best guy out there risking injury for no reason. It makes a lot of sense. But just a sneak peek, he's definitely going to be in my best bets. I love him for his passing yards against Minnesota. We just saw Justin Herbert do it, and it looked way too easy for him. Patrick Mahomes, currently quarterback 10 in fantasy football, started off 3 20-plus point fantasy games, had a little bit of a down game against the Jets last week, but that's a pretty good defense. Obviously, Sauce Gardner, all their pass rushers like Quinnen Williams, a bunch of dogs on the Jets defense. There's not too many dogs over here on the Vikings defense. Think he's going to have a field day against a really mid defense, and I got him going for like 400 yards. Not kidding. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to play with you here. I'm really not. I'm going to talk about him. He's been awful. He's been real bad. He put up like 165 yards last game. He's not doing anything well by any means. The Bengals' first third down conversion was in the fourth quarter last week. Just a really, really bad performance from a team that, like I said, was 2022's sixth ranked offense. They just have to pick it up. I think this is the time that they pick it up. Apparently, in the locker room after their loss to the Titans, I believe, they all came together, and Joe said some words. He was making sure to talk them up, and apparently he doesn't give a lot of rah-rah type of speeches, but he felt that this was a time that he needed to speak up and use his voice. And basically in the press conference after that, he was talking about how this is just a must-win game going into next Sunday, talking about Week 5 against the Cardinals. I think we're going to get a good version of Joe Burrow this week. Currently, he's quarterback 31 in fantasy football, but I just love the matchup. Like I said, this guy gets paid more than anybody else in the league. He signed a 5-year, $275 million contract earlier this offseason, going up against a terrible defense. Like I said, bottom 2 coverage. I think this is just a great spot. He has 2 top 10 receivers, also has Tyler Boyd, who is very, very talented. He can lean on Joe Mixon. I just don't see how our father, Joe Burrow, can't get it done against the Cardinals. Joe Burrow is definitely not a bum, so do not get it twisted. Don't think that just because of these a couple bad games that he's put on that he's now a bum. That is not the case. I think the calf has been bothering him, and I just hope that this week we can put it together, get it done. He knows that this is a must-win spot. The whole Bengals squad knows this is a must-win spot. So I really do like Joe Burrow, quarterback 31 in fantasy football, to pop off this week. Guys, I'm going to give you my best bets in the next segment, so make sure you tune in for that. I thought I went 3 for 4 on my best bets for Thursday Night Football. I went 4 for 4. 4 for 4 on my best bets. Thursday Night Football. So very, very cool after my 0-4 performance. So I think total now I'm 8 9 plus 4. 8 for 13. That's not too bad. That is not too bad. Come back with me so I can give you my best bets. What's good, guys? Gonna give you my best bets here. No time to waste. I know y'all want them, so let's do it. Best bets. Woo! No better time to watch a fantasy football show than a Friday with literally no sports going on. What is that? How did they not schedule a sporting event today for us to watch? Ridiculous. Guys, I got seven best bets for you on the table here. 7 best bets that I really, really like. Like I said, I've been in the lab all day just looking for value, looking for the right picks, and I think I do have them. I was watching a ton of game film, so trust me here. Just trust me here. I got y'all. We're going to start with Jamar Chase, over 80 yards. Also, I'm only talking about the guys that I talked about throughout the show. But after those media comments, man, and after – what's up, Brad? Was good. But yeah, after these media comments where he's, I'm always bleeping open. I'm always bleeping open all the time. I need to get the ball. He actually was called into Zach Klein. Is that the head coach's name? Zach Klein or something like that. Trade Burrow and Gabe Davis for Stroud and Nico Collins. I like the stack. I definitely like the stack. And Stroud has been real solid, so I do like that trade. I think Burrow is going to go off pretty soon here, though. Like I said, the top paid guy, he's not just going to not show up this year. I think he's going to definitely make some plays, and that is one of the reasons that I love him and Jamar Chase this week against the Cardinals. I think it just makes sense for them to get that done this week. And, Jamar Chase in the media complaining, always these diva wide receivers. They just get to say whatever they want, get to do whatever they want, and then they'll get the ball more after they act like a diva. It just makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I think over 80 yards is going to be easy for him. I'm sure he's going to get 10 plus, maybe 11 to 15 targets this game, and I think they're going to rely heavily on him. We got to worry about T. Higgins stealing a couple of those yards because he needs those. He's also a top 10 guy, kind of like T. Higgins in the matchup. But Jamar Chase just looks like a gazelle out there. He's literally a horse with horse legs in a human body. Jamar Chase is a goon. He's super good, and I think it's a no-brainer to take him. He's easily playable on Sunday here. Then we got Patrick Mahomes. I told y'all that was my little sneak preview. Patrick Mahomes over 285.5 should be easy work for him in this game. We just saw Justin Herbert go for 405 yards. It's just super simple for this guy. The only thing I kind of struggle with or question are the strength of his wide receivers. Obviously, he has Kelsey, and the whole defense is going to have their eyes on Kelsey. Where's he at all the time? But Andy Reid is a very creative mind on offense in his own right. Really like Patrick Mahomes over 285.5. Probably going to get loose. Vikings are going to blitz him way too much, and then he's just going to pick it up and be like, okay, I'm just going to go here. I'll go here quick, and then they're going to give him a little bit of time. They're not going to come, and then he's going to take his deep shot to, Kadarius Toney or Marquez Valdez-Scantling, whoever's open. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. He's also going to keep them honest with him rushing as well. He's been rushing the ball like 6-ish times a game, picking up yards with his feet. When they're in zone coverage or man coverage, it doesn't really matter for him. I just really like Patrick Mahomes over 285.5. It seems too easy. Then I got a little two-leg touchdown parlay with great matchups with guys that I was already talking about. Thumbnail, Joe Mixon touchdown. Love that. And then add the Bijan Robinson touchdown with that. I think they just have great matchups. Both very due to only one touchdown each. And I promise, if you go look at Joe Mixon's tape right now, he's looking bursty. I know he's going to find a way to get into the end zone this game against a pretty bad defense. Bijan gets to go up against the worst rushing defense in the entire league. I like both of those guys to score touchdowns, so that is 2 plays in 1. Then we're going to just naturally take Olave here with Christian Gonzalez being out, with J.C. Jackson just coming back to the team, Jonathan Jones, ankle injury. Gonna easily take Chris Olave over 66.5. If he gets anywhere near those 10 to 11 targets that he was seeing in weeks 1 through 3, then I definitely like that. PFF loves it. He has an excellent matchup on PFF, so I want y'all to take Chris Olave over his yards. Then Devontae Smith, Skinny Batman. I think you can also play A.J. Brown if you want against the second worst coverage defense in the Rams. Rams have a pretty young secondary. Their best guy is Darion Kendrick, who's a rookie. He's the one like covering all the good wide receivers. I know his skinny behind cannot I know he cannot handle AJ Brown. And then if it is a close game, I really more lean towards Devontae Smith just because he's a really aggressive pass catcher and has a really good catch radius. So 64.5 I think should be pretty easy for him. A lot of people sleep on Devontae Smith. Don't do that. Don't be one of those guys that sleeps on Devontae Smith. He's very good. And then finally, my last best bet that I really, really like, this might be my favorite one all week, is going to be Bijan Robinson over 110.5 rushing plus receiving yards. I think he's probably going to have a 100-yard day on the ground by himself. And then you only got to add 10 more yards receiving. I think it's just too easy. He gets like 4 or 5 catches every single game. I'm sure y'all saw that one-handed catch that he had in Toy Story mode. If you were watching it in that way, it was really funny. But I think it's a breakout time for Bijan Robinson. He's going to have a field day, and NFL's going to post him on the Instagram. And that is my best bet segment. If there are no more questions or no more comments, I'm going to get out of here, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in. If y'all want to drop a tip, you can do that right there, streamelements.com/gsmcsports. If y'all want to check out the Patreon, I do a couple extra segments on the Patreon every single weekday. I'm going to go live here in a second and do the Patreon. But other than that, hope you guys have a great rest of the day. I thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for commenting, all that. And we'll see you later.